XCW Freetime interview. I am Fletch. And we're standing here right now with none other than XCW legend, Hall of Famer, multi-time XCW champion Genocide. And you've already done one of these Freetime interviews, but this is a little different. This is XCW Freetime interview revised. We're gonna go back in time, and we're gonna review the answers that you had answered in your previous episode and compare them to how much they've changed since your first episode. And I believe your first episode took place, I want to say, 2012, I believe, somewhere in that area.
Something like that.
Yeah. All right. How many of these questions do you think are going to stay the same versus changing up?
It probably change maybe quite a bit, might not, depending on what goes on with these questions.
All right, well, let's get to it. First question. Who is your favorite XCW superstar to watch?
Oh, to watch?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I know this has now changed. See, okay, we're known, you and I, and Chris, can I say real names, or is it real names or Chris names? Okay, Roddy, Hazard, Chris Jones, Fletch, Genocide, that's four. We're known as the OGs, okay? Well, this year for the 2020 season, okay, there's the three guys that I've kept my eyes on, especially since we came back in 2017, and they're known as I've dubbed them the Triad, okay? And that's Brogan O'Shea, Brandon Branson, and Evan Phoenix. And the reason why I've taken a liking to them so much is I've seen a lot of me and you and, Chris and Hazard and Corey Lee and all of us in these guys that, we're the old, I'm not, obviously, I have to say this right now, we're the old timers. We've done this for 20 plus years. They're the up-and-comers. And I think that they are the now compared to what we've done back in the day.
Sure.
So I think they are what's taking over, because we've done this for so long that we don't need to be in that top spotlight anymore.
Out of the three, though, Brogan, Brady, Evan, who's the one you most like to watch?
See, and that's hard, because if I had to pick one, I'd say Brogan.
I understand. Your original answer was me. So you kind of stayed to the same thing, talking about me and you and Hazard and Chris. And Now it's just moved on to the next generation with Brogan O'Shea. But on the flip side to that, who in XCW do you most like to work with?
See, okay, and I'll even use my same answer from this. It was Brogan. You know, and this is why I'm saying this, because obviously my answers are going to, I want to see these questions now, because back in the day it was this, and now it's differently. Because I'm looking at all this now from a senior management standpoint.
Sure.
Okay? And when Brogan came in, his first feud was with me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And when he came in and everything, he was in training and all that stuff, it's like, okay, yada, yada, yada. Trying to get him to work and everything. He wouldn't do it, he wouldn't listen. But I finally had our feud. And obviously he's come a long way since me. But over time, when we did work, he listened to me. He listened to what I said. He understood what it was to actually want to work a match psychology-wise and everything else to learn when he went on to the next level of past me to like a Corey Lee or you or Chris, whoever, that he can stand toe-to-toe with them as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. With your first answer originally being Chris Jones. Now, let's talk about XCW as a whole. Let's not talk about the individual people like we've been talking about, the Evans, the Bradys, the Chris Joneses, the Coreys. XCW as a whole, what, in your opinion, was your favorite show? What was the best XCW show in history?
Best XCW that's hard.
Yeah, especially at this point in the game where we've had a lot more shows under our belt.
Yeah. Now, am I talking just straight XCW shows?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no ground zeros or nothing like that?
I mean, whatever you think was the best show.
Okay. No, I was just curious.
XCW as a whole.
I was just curious. I think... Summer Mania. Actually, if sucks that I have to pick a show, because if I could pick, I'd pick a season. But I know we can't do that.
I mean, you can. It's not like anything's off limits, but
okay. Then I would, if I could pick a season, I could pick for a season. I would pick this season that we just had as my favorite show, because everything has been phenomenal from top to bottom. You know, because it's like I compare it to the 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 2012 season was phenomenal from top to bottom, and this year was phenomenal from top to bottom. Everybody busted their ass this year and worked their butt off to show that despite what happened, earlier this year.
Is there a certain show from 2020 that really stood out to you?
I think Greed.
Really?
Yes. I think Greed was, and I'm not, obviously, my sounding egotistical because I'm using me and everything in there, but because we had the Backlog Raw and everything,
right,
which was the first time we've ever done that.
Right, yeah.
But everything that we've done this year, especially that show, Hayden Vex and everything, it's like, it's amazing.
Your original answer from previous Freetime interview was actually All or Nothing from 2011, which would have been the return of Hazard. Okay. And your reason for that answer is because of the crowd reaction of the first time seeing Hazard in nearly a year. And that was really one of the very first times that we really had a very big crowd that was very opinionated, right, and very involved in what was going on.
Okay, so then if that's the case, then I can take, okay, sorry for that, because I can't change my answer to that then. Take that back. I'm sorry. Even though this wasn't my favorite year, it was one of my favorite shows. Summer Mania 2007. What was that one?
17? Is that what you said?
It was in 2017.
Where we did split arenas?
Yes.
Okay, Summer Mania 12?
Summer 12. And the reason why is because not only did we have a big pop for Hazard when he came back, we also had that big pop that day, especially when it was Chris Jones and James Cerebral and all that stuff, because of the big crowd reaction of that day too.
All right.
So, I'll go with that.
Obviously, this answer is probably not going to change. How'd you get your start in XCW?
You're right. My answer's not going to change.
My note just says that I put you as a founding father.
Pretty much, that's what I am. I'm a founding father of XCW. When I was in school, I got held back in 6th grade. I shouldn't have done that. Always do your studies. Do your studies, kids. Do your homework. But by me not caring about doing schoolwork, held me back. I met you. Like wrestling, I brought you into BYWE. You got screwed over. We started XCW. Rest is history.
Absolutely.
So, if it wasn't for me playing around and not doing my homework and getting held back, and then meeting you, who knows what would happen.
I mean, I think eventually that would have maybe have been introduced to you through Hazard. Since I didn't really technically...
What would have been more, Hazard or Chris Jones?
I'm not sure.
Because I know we had the little people of who we did have and everything, right. But I knew Hazard liked wrestling, and I was just like, hey, come on in, and Chris Jones is coming in, but Chris Jones was from our grade of that time when I would have been in the grade of Hazard if I didn't get held back.
Right.
So it's like we don't know what would happen, but we know destiny. That word does get used a lot in a lot of retrospects. Destiny happens for a reason, and destiny's brought us to where we are today.
Absolutely. And destiny doesn't always help. It doesn't always play a factor positively when it comes to XCW. And with that being said, what, in your opinion, was the worst show in XCW history?
I don't remember what show I said, but I wasn't even at this show, and I'll say State Street.
Which would, State Street is also known as Living Dangerously 2005.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. That show was an absolute turd. It was horrible. Strangely enough, your first answer was not that, but it was also from 2005. Your original answer was X-rated 2005, and the reason that you had chosen that was because of the Dark Slayer Dylan Bostic Change Channel match.
Oh, well, okay, I can contest to that, why that match, but I'm looking at it more now because, like I said, because of what we are now and everything, and what we have to do is use headphones.
Yes.
Headphones for music.
It was bad.
I mean, are we EBW? I mean, EBW days, that's what we had to do.
Yeah. That's kind of why we did it, is because we got the idea kind of ripped off of the fact that they had done it, and we're like, well, shit, I guess we can make it happen. We just got to do what EBW does, but...
Right.
Yeah, but...
I wouldn't even have that show. I've known about that show. I'll admit to that one.
Yeah, you can't shine a turd, and there's no way of making that one any better than it was. Definitely not a big moment in XCW's history.
Right.
But what was the biggest moment in XCW history? And actually, you didn't answer this in the original
I didn't.
questioning. No.
I'm shocked I didn't answer this one.
I think you got a little off topic and
Okay.
it just kind of didn't get answered.
Biggest moment in XCW history,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is when we came back in 2017, and we also had until the end in 2016. We were burnt out and everything else, and everybody was going to different ventures of yada yada yada. He said, she said, and all this stuff.
Right.
And then it got to the point where it's like, okay, we're done. We've done our shows. It's sucked. And then by the time 2017 was coming around, I hadn't been talking to nobody because I needed to recharge myself. I needed a balance away from everybody. I needed my zen. And then when I seen all the promos of everybody coming back, and you posted that thing of XCW in October from the year prior, and seeing all the reactions and everything, I was like, okay. And I've been watching a lot of other backyard companies as well. I was like, okay, we need to do this. And I reached out to you guys and said my piece, and the rest is history.
Genocide's been here since 2003. You've seen the ups, the downs, the lows, the highs. You've seen it all in XCW throughout the years. Now, flip side to that you're talking about the biggest moment in XCW's history. What is the biggest moment in Genocide history?
The biggest moment in my history? I think when I first, I've won a lot of things in my career. I've done everything, but there's two moments. If I'm allowed to choose two.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
This is part of the question that wasn't answered before. So.
Oh, okay. As going into the Hall of Fame, doing all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
kind of the stamp on everything.
Right. It's a stamp on doing that because you've done stuff for 20 plus years and everything, and you finally go to the Hall of Fame, and you finally get that recognition that you deserve. And we had that high rank tournament for the UBW title, and I won that, and that was like I've won world titles before and everything, XCW title, BYW title, stuff like that, but winning that title was like a pivotal moment.
Sure. And it was a big turning point in XCW's history, I think, too. For the first time, XCW really branched out and began working with other backyard companies not within the realm of the participants in the XCW roster.
Right.
So definitely a big turning point. But in your opinion, what was the turning point in your XCW career?
Like as a good or in a bad?
Either or. Your biggest turning point that literally changed your career.
I believe this is right there from 2016 to 2017. Because, I started doing this in 98. Mm-hmm. Been going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And it gets to the point where you run yourself ragged. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I know that's probably an answer you probably don't want to hear per se, but there's got to be a time where you've got to stop. Mm-hmm. And, I know what you've done. I know what you've done in your life and everything, but I was working a job. I was a real life shoot job. I was doing independence as a referee. Plus I was back here wrestling and everything else and doing all this other stuff, and by the time 2016 hit and we shut down, I'm like, and the next day happened, woke up and everything, like, oh my God, I could breathe.
Right.
Because the rest of the year's like, I could breathe, a sigh of relief that I can rest and recuperate and everything from everything I've done prior to that. And then when we finally came back, it's like, okay, I'm ready to go again.
Right. Uniquely enough for me, I've never had that chance to breathe.
Right.
Since the inception of XCW March 8th of 2003, it's been absolutely non-stop for me since day one. So I guess my longevity and the fact that I still have enough energy and enough to continue to put forth all that I put into this brand and this channel, it's unbelievable, honestly. Going back to what your original answer was the turning point, the pivotal moment for you in your career was changing from Kurt Acid to Genocide, which definitely changed your career forever.
Right.
So in XCW, in wrestling in general, accidents happen. I mean, it's not ballet, as they say. So what do you think was the worst injury you've ever sustained?
That I've ever sustained? I'm scared to know what answer I put beforehand. I know what it is. See, and that's the thing is, like, I don't think especially when we came back and everything, I don't think I really had a major injury, especially in the ring, because I know how to. I'm not saying that I'm God or anything, and I know what I'm doing, but I've not really been hurt hard enough to where I've sustained an actual injury, like some other people have. But
right.
If the closest thing I've said could say in my career, there's been two, and that was I sliced my legs open on a table spot with DTC. That was what? Greed? Was it Greed?
Would have been Over the Edge 2004.
Over the Edge 2004. And then it was a triple threat match. It was me, Brendan Stickle, and Dr. Lee for the international title. I was also the GM. I can't remember what show it was. But we were going back and forth and everything, and sometimes people get a little stiff and everything. You get potatoed, receipts and all that. And I informed a little bit too much, Stickle. And he was on the outside waiting for the dive off of Corey Lee, and right there while we're waiting, he European uppercuts me and busted my nose open, and I was bloody. I'm like, son, I'm blind from water. I'm like, can't see. But other than that, like, I've never really sustained a really bad injury.
That one's definitely stayed the same throughout your career. You alluded to the table spot with DTC as being one of the worst injuries you sustained, and oddly enough, that would be the only one time that DTC had become XCW champion in his career. So he becomes champion and injures the top star in XCW. So on the flip side of that, I mean, you've seen plenty of pretty bad injuries coming and going through XCW's history.
Right.
What is the worst injury you think you've ever witnessed in your time?
Will Smith. Will Smith with the ladder spot. I think it was Money in the.
Yeah, Money in the Bank 2019.
Yeah. And the way he dove off, and he caught his foot on the rope and everything, landed on us, and he just couldn't breathe and everything. That was the worst injury I've ever seen. Especially when I think the ladder was set right. Like, it was set up right for him to climb up on, but he didn't think it was. And even then, even if you watch it back, you can tell it's teeter-tottering because it's not set up right. And then he just, he's up there and he has to go for it, but he's not set right to actually go when he catches himself. It's like,
right. Your original one you talked about was pretty much the answer all across the board from majority of the XCW roster. The light tube spot.
Chris Jones?
Yep, Chris Jones and myself. And then also the chair shot from you to me. You mentioned both of those as probably the worst injuries you think you've ever witnessed in your time in XCW. Now, sometimes with these injuries, people, you may never even come back from XCW. I mean, I know Stephen Reigns at one point had an injury, and he never returned to XCW after this injury. So, with that being said, whether it's injury, personal, anything, has there ever been a time where you just wanted to quit XCW or backyard wrestling in general?
No. No, because like I said earlier, I was happy because I got to breathe that sigh of relief and everything when we did shut down and all that, and I have known what you've done and everything in between when we shut down and came back and everything with other companies. I'm not going to name names. And like I said, I know what you've done. I've never quit, never wanted to quit because, like, there's people that has quit, has retired, that we know, and I've always been there for you, no matter what. So, until we actually fully are done, XCW's done, I'm here to stay.
And that is pretty much right straight ahead to what you said originally. And obviously, especially at this point in the game, everybody's more than happy to still have you part of the XCW family. Now, one thing that people have been hounding you about, especially lately, is your character, your gimmick. And there's been a lot of different characters, a lot of different gimmicks throughout XCW in almost 20 years now. But what, in your opinion, was just the worst gimmick you've ever seen?
Nemesis.
Really?
Nemesis.
I mean, Nemesis was gonna be a good character.
But
had I played it.
I was gonna say, you were gonna play, and I'm gonna say this right now. If you would have played it, it would have worked. But the person that did play it, I mean,
it was just casted wrong.
Right.
Basically,
right.
It was kind of me being Nemesis was never. We were never gonna be able to pull the trigger. It was just never gonna fall into the right place, and so we got this character left over. Let's just give it to him. He's never gonna really be the promo guy, so we can tell a story for him, and it just ultimately just never worked out in our favor. You originally said killing Kevin Kramer.
Oh, okay. Okay. But, alright. Okay. To retract on that one then, it was funny as I was actually thinking about him when I said that and you were talking about that. I was actually thinking about him. So that's weird that I actually said that. It works for him, even though when you did stuff to him and everything, and he bumps, he came right back up and all that stuff.
Right.
He obviously didn't get it. But it would have worked for him if he would have got the stuff down pat, the psychology of trying to make the character work and everything else, it would have worked for him. Because it was like a rednecky...
Kind of similar
to Cameron Kuntz?
Yeah, no, I was going to say Stevie Gobel's more recent
okay.
run in XCW,
okay.
I think.
Because of the Confederate flag and...
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe not the early inceptions of Stevie Gilbo, but more of the last few years that we've seen Stevie Gilbo participate in XCW, I think. On the flip side of that, who was the best gimmick you've ever seen? My answer would definitely change on this.
It would?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that I remember what my answer was, but this person wasn't around when I shot my original interview. So.
I have a thought. I know what your answer is.
Oh, okay. Well, after you give yours, maybe I'll see what you think mine was. I'm interested.
I'm gonna go with one of my young bucks.
Okay.
Which would be Evan Phoenix.
Okay. Well, which version of Evan?
This is what I was getting into. Him going from a superhero one into who he is now. He was trying as a baby face to get over with the superhero stuff, but then he finally got himself over as the heel that he is now.
Right.
With the way he could talk and he took the mask off and everything else. That's who Evan needed to be. Okay.
I agree. Totally.
And now, your answer, and you're going to laugh, Hayden Vex.
Actually, no. I think, in my opinion right now, I don't know if I'm going to have the opportunity to answer my questions again, me being the host now. We've kind of switched hosts over here, James Keen, Hazard, myself. If I were to pick the greatest gimmick in XCW right in history so far, I'd say Jason Arcane. I think there were so many elements to how you could use that character, and it was always intriguing, and it was always new every single time. His character was absolutely endless, and not to mention that he was just the absolute perfect promo.
Okay.
Your original, Grim Reaper.
Alrighty then. But then again, at the time though.
Oh, Reaper was hot.
Right.
So, I get it.
Right.
Now, this might have changed as XCW has evolved over the years. What do you do? How do you prepare for a match these days?
See, and that's the thing. I'm pretty much set straightforward in what I do each time and everything. But not only am I worried about myself and everything, I'm more worried about backstage stuff too. Like, I'm not saying that I'm worried about the other people backstage and everything. So I'm constantly got my mind thinking about other people and everything. But I'm pretty much the same thing. It's like when it's time for me to go and all that, I wait for, I look up and everything because it's to my father.
Yeah.
And everything, and to my son. And as soon as I hear that music play, I do my little walk back and forth that I always do, psych myself up, and then as soon as the spot hits, I go straight out, and I'm not Ben Kaufman anymore, I'm Genocide.
Right.
So.
And I think a lot of wrestlers in and out of XCW don't give themselves enough credit for that I think a lot of them struggle with who they are versus what their character is. A lot of people come in, they just want to play a character, and you can't just necessarily play a character. You have to become that character.
Right.
And I feel like that's difficult for some people to do. And we just talked about me thinking that the best gimmick in XCW history was Jason Arcane. Jason Arcane, Nate became Jason Arcane.
Right.
There was no way that you could speak to him in front of this camera and he was not Jason Arcane.
No.
And it was unbelievable. Your original answer to that was just, you planned your spots in your head. You continued to go over the match in your head before you went to the ring.
Right.
Now, kind of tying into that same question, do you have any pre-match rituals? You mentioned maybe walking back and forth before your music hit.
That right there is pretty much is like I do my thing, talk about the match and everything, and get ready for it, and then I listen to just think about what's going to happen, because you always got to go out there and protect the person that you're with, because it's he's your dancing partner,
right?
Whoever you're going out there with, and as soon as I hear that that piano going, it's like I'm like, okay. I start going back and forth and everything, getting ready, and then like I said, as soon as that boom hits, I go out there, and then I'm me. I'm Benji Kaufman.
But you're turned up a notch and you're genocide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially, can we talk about the mask stuff?
Sure.
Okay. Everybody knows that I'm in Total Darkness. Mm-hmm. Right. When that's what's funny is, because we can use this option as well in the scenario. Wow. Because when I'm me, I'm me. When I go out there as genocide, I'm genocide. When I go out there as Total Darkness, I'm in Total Darkness.
Right.
And sometimes when I'm out there, like, I'm still out there and everything. And as soon as I come back to that curtain and everything, and that mask goes off, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what was that? It's like that what would that be called? Like
almost like an out of body experience, kind of like a.
It would be like a transition, out of body transition type of thing, like, because I'm not. I live eternal darkness when I'm eternal darkness.
Sure.
I live genocide when I'm genocide. But as soon as that match is over and everything, I'm still them. But as soon as that curtain, I get through that curtain, it's like, show's over. I'm me again.
Right. I'm really interested to see if this question differs. Worst chop you've ever received? Who was it?
Worst chop I've ever received?
Yeah, who threw the worst chop you've ever taken?
That's funny, because I don't really get chopped much like here anymore. The last person to chop me was Hazard. But otherwise, no one really chops me because I'm the king of chops. So, and I mean, a lot of people try to forearm me and everything, thinking they could go at me with that, but even then they can't really.
Originally, you talked about Brandon Hobbs and Dylan Bostic.
Okay.
And we all know that Dylan Bostic doesn't get off on anything in life more than a good chop.
Or a forearm.
What, in your opinion, overall, 19 years, is the best finishing move in XCW history?
Not mine, because it's overdone. Yours.
Which one?
Not as the end of days. Final breath.
Final breath?
Final breath, yes. Final breath.
It's funny, you actually said suicide effect
Oh.
the first time. So, as I've evolved, I guess so has my mood, and it's kind of taken on a life of its own.
Because it's the way it's initiated and all that other stuff. It's like as soon as they come in, and it's like, oh, that's amazing.
See if this one's changed. If there was something else that pops into your mind, who was your biggest pro wrestling influence growing up, and why you wanted to be a wrestler?
I'm assuming I said Hulk Hogan when I was younger.
No, actually.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't have said Hulk Hogan. I would have said Sting. But
Yeah, you did.
I would have said Sting.
You said Sting and Flair.
Yeah, Sting and Flair. Kurt Angle, he's another one. Dean Malenko, he's another one because I worked the technical side.
Sure, yeah, which is pretty unique for you and your character because a lot of people don't work that style.
Right.
I think it's becoming more of a commonplace in XCW 2020 than maybe it has prior. More people are trying to
work the technical.
Yeah, trying to add more of a submission mat-based style to their arsenal, and that's great. And that's going to give more interesting competition for you.
Well, not just for me, but for for like Corey Lee and everything as well. And I know this, and I'm not trying to be egotistical because it's always not all about me; it's about everybody else. And it's great that they want to do that. They want to add submissions and stuff. You do submissions, and you do submissions as well. So it's like, but I know a lot of submissions to do it because, like I said, I follow Dean Malenko, the man of 1,000 holds, Jericho and Angle and all that stuff. Like I like that type of wrestling aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, a lot of people. There's a million different styles in wrestling. There's brawlers, there's high flyers, and there's ground technicians. And I feel like you've definitely mastered being a ground technician, especially in an environment of backyard wrestling where being a technical wrestler is not exactly the coolest thing that you could do. And you don't see yourself in a lot of these concept matches that are more over the top. You will out-wrestle your opponent. But with that being said, what, in your opinion, is the best concept match? What is your favorite concept match?
Okay. There's quite a few that I like. And I'm not going to pick ultimate submission and everything because that's obviously what I do. But stuff that I like to see happen. I like ladder matches.
And that was your original answer.
Okay. Nowadays, I'm not really. Back in the day, I'm not saying I was the king of the ladder match because, that'd be too ego of me. Obviously, Chris is the king of the ladder match. We all know that.
Yeah.
But I would always say that
you are the new master of Money in the Banks, though. I feel like.
Shut up. Master of the Money in the Bank that I'll never win.
Never say never.
I know. But there's always a time that I'm always in. Every time a ladder match pops up, it's not just Money in the Bank, it's King of the Mountain or any type of else. Who's in that match?
There's going to be a ring general there and knows what the hell they're doing.
Well, right. There is, but like I'm always in every type of ladder match. And back in the day, I was always winning ladder matches. Two per se.
Right.
I'm not saying that I was Chris. Like I said, we're not saying Chris Jones, who's always winning TLCs and all these other matches, but.
But as we get older, it gets harder and harder to take those shots, those hard shots with ladders and chairs, and.
I'd rather get hit with a ladder than land on the ladder.
So that brings me to our next question. What is the hardest weapon shot you've ever received?
Received or landed on?
Yes, it's kind of the same, right?
Okay. It was a match with us.
Oh, okay.
We were tag team. I think it was Pandora's Box.
So we're working with 8 Deadly Sins.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Venom takes the steel chair. Okay. And I think he was trying to do a chair table type thing where he had 2 chairs put together. He was wanting to pick me up and bike slam through it. That didn't work out so well.
I assume the table didn't break, if I recall,
No,
right?
well, it wasn't really. Well, it wasn't really. The table part is the way he got me up, and when I landed, there was a part of the chair that was broke, and there was a piece of hole. There was a piece right here of the chair, like on the side of it, like this part right here.
Yeah.
And this little cap went on it.
Oh, okay.
So,
alright.
my hip went into that hole, and you can hear me on tape screaming like a little girl. Okay, there's one other one. Screaming like a girl, rolling out of the ring, freaking out, like, oh my God, I think I got a big hole in my side because of this, because of what happened. And the other one was a Canadian lumberjack match.
Oh, okay.
Where I get hit my taint. It is funny. It is funny. I got hit in the taint, and you all die laughing. And I was wrestling DJ.
Okay.
And Jesse Justice had
both. Of all people.
Yeah, he didn't hit me in the taint though. Somebody else did. But Jesse Justice had 2 belts, and he was swinging. One of the ends that he was swinging was the metal piece.
Of course.
And of course, I'm on my back. Stupid me rolls to my back, faces up to where his belts are coming down, hits me right in the eye.
Oh my God.
So those are my worst.
All of those things happened after your original answer, which was a light tube shot from Hazard in your guys' two falls match for the Extreme and International titles.
Oh, that's
nothing these days.
No.
So this is a big question, especially on the heels of a brand new XCW season in 2021. Where do you see you being in XCW 6 months from now?
Obviously still wrestling and everything, but if things do change to where I need to. I mean, obviously, I've stated that my time has came and gone. Obviously, there's a never say never attitude in wrestling. Everybody knows that. But my time has come and gone. We're past our prime.
Speak for yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
we're obviously still here. I'm like the other 2 OGs.
Hey, I agree with that 100%.
Okay. But like I said, our time is gone, come and gone. It's time for the new crop to come up and everything. And it comes to the point where I need to step back more and be like in a managerial role or everything else, just work backstage and stuff like that. That's where I could see me as. If not, then
6 months from the last time you had this interview, you thought you were going to be XCW champion.
well,
And you may have been. I honestly don't remember.
2012.
I don't think so. But
No. Well, I like to hold.
Obviously, this answer is going to change because it's a completely new era in XCW. Even 2020 versus 2019 XCW is 100% different.
Right.
Who's the fastest rising star in XCW?
Oh, fuck.
You can say it of all time. You can say of recent. You can give me both. It's fine. Either way.
Then I'll go with an answer you said earlier, Jason Arcane. Because he was, it still is because of his gimmick and everything else.
Right.
He did, when he first started, it was like, okay, and then he went from here and went to this and that. I'm like, oh my God. Like, he could talk and wrestle and everything. It's like, and yes, he's wrestling, in other places, not in XCW.
Right.
He's wrestling in the Indies, and I'm happy for him. But I think he could go more if he would have just done what we said.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. If he got the proper training, he went to a legit school rather than being independent, he would probably be a huge name.
Right. That's what we tell people when they do come to XCW and everything, do wrestle with us and everything, and they're like, you know, all of a sudden they got this feeling to go bigger and higher than us. I'm like, okay, if you want to do that, it's fine. Just let us know, but we're going to tell you right now, you want to go anywhere, go to Louisville. Go to Al
Spend
Snow.
the money, do it right. Don't do it the way we did it.
Right. Go to Louisville, go to Al Snow, Rep Rogers, Eugene.
Who do you think you said is the original answer as Fastest Rising Star?
Who do I think was my original answer?
Yeah.
I want to say Corey Lee.
You're right. You got it. Yeah. Fastest Rising Star, in your opinion at that time, was Corey Lee. You're not wrong. Either way you go, you're not wrong.
At that time, when he the leader of the Untouchable, well,
no,
he wasn't yet.
He was really coming into his own, and he was getting ready to go into a major feud with Hazard. He'd just been crowned XCW champion. He was kind of finishing up a feud with Nightmare. He was definitely on his way to the very top.
Okay,
He was taking over the Untouchables. Definitely stand out. Now, originally we talked about nicknames, and nicknames is something that we've kind of gone away from in the last few years. I mean, yes, people still kind of have nicknames. The Frantic Jesse Justice, Mr. 187 Genocide.
Yeah.
So, originally I asked you who had the best nickname, but now I'm just going to ask you, who's had the best gimmick name?
The best gimmick name? Mm-hmm. Like, what are you saying? Like, it's Fletch?
I mean, you can give me a nickname if you still think that was the... but...
No, like, are you saying, like, is Fletch the best gimmick name? Is Corey Lee the best gimmick name? Okay. Oh, this is toughie. I would go with 2.
Okay.
I'll go with Jason Arcade.
Alright.
Okay. And I say that because of his gimmick and everything else, because of the way he talks
Alright.
and everything. And Brady Branson.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All-American. Because up until 2017, at that point, obviously, he wasn't really the All-American yet. But up until that point, like, we obviously did characters of, like, with, you know, flags and everything, and who was the only true American hero was me.
Right.
But we obviously needed that true American icon, patriot wrestler, and we got Brady Branson. And the way he's built his character up, especially with his name and everything, especially with his promos, with the 4th of July and all this other stuff, and it's like, I sink into that.
Your original favorite nickname was the Dark Angel Nightmare.
Okay.
I mean, being a big horror movie fan, maybe that plays a little bit into that. Speaking of Nightmare, he's an XCW Hall of Famer.
Yep.
He's definitely made a career of himself. But who, in your opinion, deserves to be in a Hall of Fame that is not yet? And I know you may not completely remember everybody that's on this list. It's a pretty long list of guys, but...
Oh, we're just doing guys?
No, it's who you think should be in the Hall of Fame that's not yet.
I think somebody that thinks somebody needs to be in there, and it's a she.
Okay.
And she hasn't won in yet. And especially with, we had VCAs and everything, and she was up for it. I think she deserves it. And that's Fago.
Oh, okay. I don't disagree with that at all.
She's managed, Azure Demon Knight. And
sure. Yeah, Devil
and all that stuff, and she was a mainstay back in
04, 05,
yeah.
06, yeah.
So, to me, and I know everybody's going, especially you would say like Rob Slater and everything else.
No, I 100% agree with Fago. I mean, yeah, there's obviously some pretty big names out there that still haven't had the opportunity to participate in a Hall of Fame, but definitely Fago is more than deserving. Literally, in my opinion, the first lady of XCW.
Yes. Yeah.
So originally you said Nightmare for that, who is now in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
So obviously your answer is going to change for that. What was the theme song that you came out to that you enjoyed the most, got you the most hype to get into the ring?
As it sounds, is the one I come out to now.
Really?
Yes.
Even more so than your original answer.
Which would be Marilyn Manson?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I love the Marilyn Manson song. This is the new shit. Especially when I changed over from Kurt Acid to Genocide and everything else. You know, because obviously it's the new shit because it's a new vamp on who I am, on who I became. And obviously over the years, I changed songs from Marilyn Manson, the Motivator, to Devil Wears Prada, and now to Raunchy, who I have now for Warriors. And because of the whole piano thing and everything, because like I said, I go walk back and forth, and then as soon as that drum hits, boom, I go through the curtain, and there I go.
Babyface or heel?
I probably said baby. I'm just gonna take a guess. I guarantee I said baby face.
You did.
Okay. I like heel more.
Oh, it's flipped. Okay.
I know that sounds weird. I mean, I like baby. Okay, this answer is hard for me because, especially because back in the day we didn't care much about characters per se. You know, I've had this conversation before. Back in the day, we didn't really care much about characters and storylines and stuff like we do now, right? And I think you attest to this right now. I can't cut a promo with my goddamn life. Can I? I can't cut a promo with goddamn life.
It depends. I do think as a heel, you definitely put out a better promo.
Okay. The only way I cut promos good, especially as a babyface, is if I have something to go off of, like the promo I cut with DJ, to set up for the Canadian Lumberjack match.
Right.
But with as a heel, like you just said, I cut promos better as a heel because I can go off to the crowd and everything, downgrade them as well. So I go towards heel.
Here we sit right now on XC Wrestling 1, right here on YouTube. We have the eye that never blinks in front of us. Were you ever camera shy?
Yes.
Really? Because you insinuated that you were never camera shy last time.
Okay, well then, I don't know what I was on at that time. No, I'm kidding. I don't know why I would say that. Probably because I was so used to being around BYWE and everything.
Right, yeah, all of those are filmed.
But even then, like, at that time, I was camera shy, but obviously up until this point now, I'm not.
Yeah, I think it was an overall question, not so much
Well, then, no, I'm not camera shy.
This is a pretty easy one-word answer.
No.
Obviously, everybody knows the answer to this. You have any wrestling experience before XCW?
Yes.
I just put SPW.
Okay.
I figured that was that pretty much sums it up. Your history before. With that being said, being a part of SPW, HCW, BYWE, did you have any training? Like, who were you trained by?
I'm sure my answer's probably the same if I did answer this one. Obviously, I didn't really have any wrestling training up until like when we did go to New Era Wrestling and did that type of training.
Right.
But other than that, I was like the Hardy Boys and.
You just know one. You just kind of winged it. You learned it as you went, and that's the exact same answer. Obviously, that's something you don't forget. And
like when
look at the career that you've had from not knowing a damn thing.
Right. I'll say this much right now. And when I first started, it was with Justin Parsley, obviously.
Right.
We were doing like multiple characters and everything, like Outlaw and all this type of stuff. Like we were playing like WWE characters, but we gave them their own names.
Right.
And everything else, and like where his mailbox was, that was like our entranceway. We walk and all that, and we climb. We had like a one-step type thing where we climbed through the ropes and all the stuff. And his porch was like the size of a wrestling ring, and that's what we wrestled on. Even though it was a wooden porch, there was no mattresses. We bumped on it. It hurt, but we were kids. What do you expect?
What is the best stable you think you've ever seen in XCW overall? Who was in the best? What was the best stable? Like, if you had to pick out one team in XCW history to represent the best team ever, who would it be? And there's a lot of them. I mean, there's Untouchables, VK2, VK3, MPG. I mean, you could even go as far back to say something wacky like Hardcore Deliverance. I mean, it's endless how many tag teams or groups have been in XCW over the years.
Right. See, and it's probably the same answer, but VK3.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, that's the same thing that you felt back in the day. Obviously, you were a part of that group.
But there is one group that I wish could have been done in XCW, even if just for like one show. And obviously, never say never. But there's always been a time where I always wished that us could have done one match together as a tag team, all four of us. I mean, that'd be like.
Yeah, because it was mostly like Hazard and I working singles. You and Vapor were working as a team at the time.
Right. Well, but I was being like, instead of Vapor, obviously not Vapor no more, but Chris. That's what I was being like. Us, yeah.
Who from XCW do you just personally not like?
Right now?
Overall. You went a little off the beaten path on this answer. It was a little interesting, but I'm interested to see if you have a different person that rubs you the wrong way.
See, and I'm curious what my answer was a long time ago. Don't tell me yet. See, that's what's funny is. Okay.
If you think about your entire career, this one's pretty obvious.
I don't remember what it was. I basically.
You gave me two answers, actually.
I did?
Yeah.
Okay.
One is pretty interesting. You probably forgot the guy even existed. The other one's pretty big name.
A pretty big name?
Yeah.
Okay. See, and that's the thing. Up until even when we came back. When we came back and everything, I got along with everybody.
Right.
If I had to pick, and if I did have to pick somebody, it'd be Ethan Rockwell.
Wow. Okay.
I'm not saying I personally hate the guy, but he's the type that gets on your nerves.
Right. I understand. You originally said Justin Parsley.
Okay.
And Mel Mall. Technically, Mel Mall trained in XCW before eventually going to UIW and having a career there.
Right. the Justin answer obviously has changed because we grow up and everything. It's like
Right. Yeah. Obviously, things have changed, and even the relationship that Justin and I have is completely 100% different than it was at that time.
right.
Easy answer here. What's the best storyline in XCW history?
Best storyline next
Yeah, best told story ever.
I would say EBW versus XCW.
I can agree with that. That's not the same issue that you had, but really the XCW EBW rivalry hadn't taken off when we last shot. Your original answer, I want to see if it'll hold up still to you. It's Chris and Cynical.
Okay.
On the flip side of that, I mean, obviously, when I think of XCW and I think of history, Chris and Cynical stand out as a major rivalry. In your opinion, were they the best rivalry in XCW history, or does somebody else take the cake?
That's hard.
Maybe you think it's XCW versus EBW now. I don't know.
See, and that's hard because, especially when I think it's still them on top. And the only
Chris and Cynical?
yes, and the only reason why I say that is because
Longevity?
yes, especially when we had that tag match with me and Chris against Ryan and Corey Lee, and it was like they had that chemistry and everything, and all of a sudden they did that move. They did that. Okay, they did that move to Chris. The
the sonometry onto Corey's knees.
yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and
it just came out of nowhere. I mean, Cynical never even worked with Corey Lee at that point, and
right.
literally walks into the match and immediately just knew what to do. And Cynical's just mind blowing. He is an absolute natural wrestler.
Right.
And he wasn't even a wrestler. Like, he didn't even like wrestling. He wasn't even a wrestling fan, and like, he was just the most underrated. Even though he was a top guy, still just like he always undercuts himself about how good he actually was.
Right, but when he was hanging out with us and everything and wrestling, we did have wrestling on. You could notice him.
Oh, he was glued.
He was glued to the screen.
Absolutely.
Because he would study it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
I'll tell you this today. We'll snippet. I don't know when this episode's going to air.
okay.
But it may be before, it may be after. But Cynical just recently was at XCW's training facility, as of today, and was taking bumps in the ring. And it's like the guy never left, and he has not taken a single bump since 2012.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He took bumps today, and it was as if he... And no, I may be wrong about the year. It's within the 2012-2014 era.
Right.
But, yeah, he, for the first time since that era, he took a bump today. And it's like riding a bike. He just jumped right in.
Huh.
Jumped right in and knew exactly what to do. Mind blowing. Maybe not another talent like him. Now, this subject's grown a lot over the years since the last time we spoke about this. What, in your opinion, was the best XCW location? There's been a lot more added to that list since then.
Right. See, and that's hard because I guarantee you my answer at the time was Mildred.
No.
Oh, was it?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I probably said the trailer park.
No.
Okay. That's also weird.
You actually said the Oakster Civic Center.
That's so weird. Well, but I probably said that because it felt like an actual arena.
Right.
To the time, especially
because they had it roped off and we had the fans in the sand pit.
Right. And
yeah.
we came out of the garage and we were trying to do stuff legit, but we were still having fun, with friends and everything else, like that type of stuff. If I did have to pick, I'd say Mildred Street.
I agree. I know Chris will kill me for that answer, but I agree. If we could have had the ring in that location, there's no way that the season would have ever been topped, ever,
No.
period.
What
kind of legacy do you think you'll leave behind? I'm interested to see if this kind of lines up, especially since now you have a legacy, I feel like, and I want to know if you lived up to your original one, in your opinion, and if there's another legacy that you want to leave behind.
The type of legacy I want to leave behind, which is, I feel it should be the same answer, is to leave the knowledge that I've gained over the years to all the new people and everything who wants to do this, guys and gals. We don't really have real gals wrestling, but we like to see that one day and everything. And I've always wanted to. I always try to express my knowledge as much as I can, best as I can.
Yeah. You mentioned in the original, and it's pretty much the same, that you wanted to be the most influential wrestler you possibly could. You wanted, that was what your legacy was going to be, is that you wanted to be influential when it came to your peers in XCW.
Right.
What about the company, however? What kind of legacy do you think XCW has left behind now, I guess you could say, versus the original question, what kind of legacy will XCW leave behind?
XCW has left a legacy because it's a household name, and even though when it shuts down, it knows that everybody, when you say XCW, everybody knows it and they love it. And they, even though it shut down, like it happened in 2016, when it shut down and you posted XCW on Facebook, everybody was talking about it.
Yeah, hundreds of comments. Your original answer was to be the best backyard wrestling company, period.
And we've surpassed that.
You think? Honestly? I mean, there's some unbelievable companies out there, and there's even some that are maybe not even as good as us, but definitely, if you look at their fan base, it's unbelievable.
Are we talking about like what's in Canada and everything else? Like,
I mean, yeah, you can tie VVW into that. Yeah.
Okay. I want to say this right now. VVW, Cat and everything else, they were a part, like what we did with, I know this is going off topic. They were part of the companies that's like in the Northeast, all those backyard companies and everything. You know how like we did the Tri-Brand stuff with the UBW title?
Yeah.
They had their own thing up there in the Northeast, which was, New Era, UCW, and VBW, and other companies and everything. They had their own heavyweight champions, but they were part of a company group called the GBYWN, which is the world title that they held up there. And the last champion that I remember was Cat, the Cat guy.
Big Cat Ernie Ladd, or what? Not Ernie Ladd.
That's
Stan. Oh damn it!
I know
there's Big Cat Stan Hansen. Is that his name?
I think so.
Something like Stan Henson.
Oh, Henson, yes.
Henson, yeah.
But like when I used to watch that while we were doing our shows, I would watch their stuff on YouTube, VBW and them, and then passing the belt around like territory-wise. I'm like, that'd be cool if like we could do that, or I could do that. Go up there. And
then we did.
But we did. Yeah, we did do that.
Now, obviously, you talk about a legacy that XCW's left behind. It's obviously made a huge impact. But what kind of impact has XCW made in your life?
Obviously, with all the friends and everything that I've acquired over the years, especially now, the family that we have. I mean, it goes back to what I said earlier when we started this. Destiny. Destiny will always be used. Because destiny, you know, I know it's, like I said earlier, it sounds weird, but destiny held me back in 6th grade. Destiny, like I said,
all shit rolls downhill, as they say.
Right.
Everything happens for a reason to get to that.
Right. It happened for a reason for me to get to you, to like wrestling, to bring you to Justin, for us to start this, to you obviously meeting your future wife, who's now the mother of your child, and you're all married, and she's part of the show, and I have a kid now, and everything. Everything happens for a reason, and that's what XCW was done.
And that's pretty much the same. You said friends right off the bat, and that's the very first thing you said right off the bat in the original. So, for you personally, you talked about all the things that like me meeting my wife and stuff. What was the thing that came out of XCW for you personally that meant the most?
My son.
Really? And you think your son came from XCW? Like,
well, I mean, okay, I would say, I know that sounds weird to say, but obviously I met, not really my son, but like the friendships and the family that I've gained out of this and everything. But my son he's starting to know wrestling and everything now. And that's something that I'm trying to...
Now that you can show him the legacy you've left behind, the things that you've done.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to...
Well, it kind of ties into what your original statement was. It was you made yourself a better person, and it made you more open. You were kind of shy and quiet and didn't talk to people as much when we were in high school, and
right.
It made you open up and made you a better person long term, where you were more of a social person.
Like would I have a kid if I wasn't open? I mean, I'm not stating that.
No,
you have to be open to talk to somebody, to obviously get to that point.
Right. On the flip side of that, I mean, obviously that's probably one of your proudest life achievements is being a father.
Yes.
But what about XCW? What was your proudest XCW achievement? I guarantee that this has changed.
Well, my original answer has changed from...
I believe so. Based off of a few things that we touched on a little bit ago, I think that your biggest achievement in XCW would probably change from your original answer.
Okay. I want you to tell me what you think it is. And
I would think it would be your Hall of Fame induction, and as well as becoming the first United Backyard Wrestling Champion.
Okay. It is those, but also being here as long as I've been here, starting this company with you, and helping all these kids. I mean, obviously we're all in our 20s and 30s, and there's some people that's in their teens and everything, but helping all these other people
have these same experiences that we've lived out.
Yes.
Yeah. And then starting XW with myself and Dylan was your original answer. So that's really, it's lived out through all of your career here. Where did you come up with your name and gimmick of Genocide?
Okay. It's probably going to be the same answer. I didn't really have a gimmick for Genocide back when I did have the name, because Genocide came from Justin Parsley and everything else, because there was another person who was Suicide, Parsley was Homicide, and I was Genocide and everything. And obviously I became Kurt Acid in BYWE when I went from Genocide to Kurt Acid, which was obviously a playoff with Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because we did the whole Kurt Angle's Brock Lesnar spot with all
The switcheroo
thing, because I had two jackets that looked exactly the same, had gold medals and everything. Obviously, that's how you are as kids, especially when you want to wrestle. And you go the extra mile to do it. And, obviously came to XCW, still Kurt Acid and everything else, and then finally got the beat down and then changed to Genocide. Well, Genocide didn't really have a character per se, but over years, I grew into the wrestling mat technician of best wrestler ever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, even though Genocide obviously means, the genocidal killings of everybody of one.
Yours isn't based off of that. It's
right.
more a name than
right.
it is a racial.
Right, and that's what's weird.
Injustice, kind of.
Right, and that's what's weird, because
and that may be something that we can look at in the future, maybe even in 2021, especially with Black Lives Matter and a lot of things within our history and a lot of things within our lives, obviously in the last year, changed. Maybe that's something that is a turnoff to some people. Maybe that's something to revisit at some point.
I think it changed. Yeah. A change.
Maybe.
Who knows? You never say never.
That's right. You never say never, and obviously, it's the same answer here as the original. And I'm sure that this one's not going to change either. What do you say to people who say wrestling's fake?
Until you get in a ring and you bump like we have done for all these years, shut your mouth. You don't know if wrestling is fake. I mean, look at all these wrestlers that's passed away.
Hell yeah, I think we get more heated now than we did when we originally did these.
Right. I mean...
Especially, we own 2 rings now. This shit, it's not a trampoline.
There's no reason for us to get heated about it, but it's like, look at all these wrestlers that's passed.
Oh no, I'll kick somebody's ass for saying wrestling's fake at this point.
Well, right, but...
all the injuries and stuff with us sustained.
No,
I'll kick your ass.
No, I get what you're saying, but it's like, look at all these wrestlers that's passed away from the bumps and everything. Look at Owen Hart and all that stuff. It's like, do you actually think that this is fake? Until you get in a ring and take a bump, you can't say nothing. So, and obviously that's probably my answer.
Oh yeah, it's everybody's answer. It's the universal answer.
Right.
Anyone who's ever stepped foot in a ring, that's the answer. There's still non-believers out there. It's all fake, but it's not. Trust me. It's metal. It's wood. It's this much padding. It hurts. It's legit. Hell, you could run the ropes. It hurts. Trust us.
You say wrestling's fake, I'll say this. Football's fake, basketball's fake, all sports.
Oh, hell yeah. Fake. I think NFL's at work. But...
UFC's fake.
Hey.
Boxing's fake.
I agree. They worked at Madison Square Garden, UFC did. They're out to make money too.
Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for you today here on this special Free Time interview, revisited with Genocide. Until next time, I am Fletch. We will see you next time here.